In the far corner of southern Europe, where the Adriatic Sea meets the ancient stone of the Balkans, there exists a land that the modern world has largely forgotten to notice. It is a land of extraordinary contradictions. A place where the sea is warm and turquoise one hour, and the next you find yourself inside a canyon so vast and so cold that the sky above you narrows to a thin blue thread. A place where wolves still move through forests no human hand has disturbed in 5 centuries. Rivers run so clean you can cup them in your palms and drink. It is called Montenegro. And in all the years one might spend bearing witness to the wild places of this earth, few have left quite such a mark of quiet astonishment as this one. Montenegro covers just 13,800 square kilometers. Its entire population is fewer than 650,000 people. One could drive from one border to the other in a single afternoon and believe quite reasonably that one had seen it. But that would be a profound mistake. For within this small nation, brown bears and wolves and golden eagles still hold their territory. 5 national parks protect landscapes as varied as any on the European continent. There are glacial lakes formed 10,000 years ago, ancient forests where the oldest trees were already centuries old when Columbus sailed, and canyons reaching depths that rival anything outside the Americas. And yet, remarkably, most of the world passes it by. Perhaps that patience is inherited. The Ottoman Empire tried for centuries to fully conquer these people. It largely failed. The Montenegrin interior proved impossible to hold. The Montenegrins simply absorbed every empire that came, survived every war, and remained precisely who they were. A small people in a small country who understood, perhaps better than most, the value of what surrounded them. In 1991, the Montenegrin government made a declaration unlike any other on earth. They formally designated their nation an ecological state, the first country in the world to make environmental protection not merely a policy, but a matter of national identity. The mountains, the rivers, the forests were not resources to be extracted. They were the country itself. We begin at the coast, where the Adriatic Sea reaches deep inland through a series of winding passages to create something that resembles a fjord. The Bay of Kotor is a submerged river canyon carved by ancient water long before the sea rose to claim it. The bay runs exceptionally deep. The mountains rise on all sides almost vertically, their limestone faces plunging directly into dark blue water. On calm mornings when mist settles low across the surface, the entire scene hangs suspended between the real and the imagined. One feels, standing at the water's edge, the weight of geological time pressing gently but unmistakably on the present. At the innermost reach of the bay sits the old town of Kotor, enclosed entirely within medieval walls that the Venetians built and reinforced over 4 centuries of possession. Venice understood immediately what it held here: a natural harbor of extraordinary protection, an entrance narrow enough to defend, a position from which one could control the entire eastern Adriatic. They constructed walls that climbed the sheer mountain face above the town, rising over 260 vertical meters to a fortress that has guarded this bay since the 9th century. To stand at that fortress at dawn is to understand something about the human desire for beauty alongside strategy. Below, the entire bay spreads in morning silence. Ancient stone towns dot the shoreline like small offerings at the water's edge. The light arrives slowly, sliding down the mountain walls with the patience of something that has performed this same passage every morning for a very long time. 20 minutes along the bay from Kotor, the Baroque town of Perast holds one of the strangest stories in European history. Two small islands sit just offshore. The first, St. George, rose naturally from the water. The second, Our Lady of the Rocks, was built entirely by human hands over the course of 5 centuries. It began in 1452, when local sailors claimed to discover a holy icon on a rock just below the surface. In accordance with an ancient tradition they established that day, every sailor who passed through the bay thereafter was required to drop a stone into the water above that spot. Slowly, over generations, the stones accumulated. By the 17th century, the submerged pile had grown solid enough to hold a church, which was built there and stands today. The icon remains inside, and each year on the 22nd of July, the people of Perast row out in the evening and continue the tradition, dropping stones into the water in a ceremony called Fascinada. 5 centuries of stones, an island built entirely from devotion, one small rock at a time. Herceg Novi guards the bay's entrance, its old walls draped in bougainvillea and the yellow of mimosa trees that bloom even in January. Risan, the oldest settlement on the bay, holds Roman mosaic floors still being uncovered from the earth. Every town along this coastline carries layer upon layer of history pressed against each other. Illyrian beneath Roman, Roman beneath Byzantine, Byzantine beneath Venetian, Venetian beneath Ottoman. The stone remembers everything.
Leave the coast and drive north, and Montenegro reveals its other self. The transformation is swift. The olive trees disappear, the road climbs, the temperature falls. Pine forest closes in on either side, and the sky narrows to a corridor above the treetops. The air changes in a way that is difficult to describe precisely, but impossible to mistake. Something older, colder, less touched than the air at sea level, as though one has crossed into not merely higher altitude, but an earlier version of the world. This is the Montenegro that most travelers never see, the interior, the mountains, the north. In small stone farmhouses along roads that wind through high valleys, people live in ways that have not changed substantially in a very long time. Beehives on the hillside, kitchen gardens enclosed by stone walls, sheep crossing a mountain road indifferent to everything. In the village of Niagushi, set in a high pass between the coast and the interior, a cured ham called Niagushki prosciutto is still smoked over beechwood and dried in the cold mountain wind exactly as it has been made for centuries. Served with firm local cheese and a glass of vranats, the red wine grown in the warmer valleys below, one begins to understand what it means to eat from a landscape rather than simply within one. The people of these mountains carry a reputation for unhurried living they wear without any embarrassment. There are local proverbs that treat rest as a form of wisdom. Man was born tired and lives to rest. Spend time here and one begins to suspect this expresses something genuine about a people who have watched the great empires exhaust themselves, rushing towards outcomes that never quite arrived, and who have drawn their own considered conclusions. In the northwest of Montenegro, the Dinaric Alps achieve their most dramatic expression in the massif called Dermator. Here, 48 mountain peaks rise above the forests and high plateaus, the tallest of them, Bobotov Kuk, reaching 2,522 meters into a sky that at such altitude seems almost close enough to touch. Glaciers once covered this entire landscape. When they retreated 10,000 years ago, they left behind 18 lakes scattered across the mountain as though dropped there from a great height. The largest, Cherno Jezero, the Black Lake, sits at 1,416 meters, enclosed by a dense ancient forest of black pine whose reflection turns the water so dark it earns its name fully. In winter, the snows arrive with absolute commitment. Żabiak, the highest elevated town in the entire Balkans, at 1,456 meters, disappears beneath meters of snowfall. The frozen lake holds the cold quietly. The forest around it stands black and perfectly still, as it has stood through every winter for centuries before the town existed. In summer, the transformation is complete. Wild flowers blanket every meadow in colors that seem almost deliberate in their excess. The lake fills with swimmers. Hikers move along the trails that circle the high peaks, and on the clearest days, from the ridgelines, one can see simultaneously the Adriatic to the south and the mountains of Bosnia to the north. Entire countries visible in a single unhurried glance. Dermator became a UNESCO World Heritage Site in 1980. Within its 39,000 hectares of protected land, brown bears move through the forest at first light. Wolves cover vast ground through the night. Chamois navigate slopes that seem to offer no footing. Lynx move with a silence so complete that one can pass within meters and never know. Golden eagles hold position on thermal columns high above the peaks, looking down on a landscape that has supported their kind for longer than recorded history reaches. In summer, the traditional life of the high pastures persists. Shepherds bring their flocks up from the valleys to the mountain meadows, living in small wooden cottages called katuns that their families have maintained for generations. To stop and speak with such a shepherd on a high Dermator meadow is to encounter someone who knows these mountains the way most of us know the street where we grew up, not as geography, but as relationship. Each peak with its own name and character, each season with its own demands and gifts.
North of Dermator, the Tara River begins its extraordinary passage. Rising in the mountains along the Montenegro-Albania border, the Tara flows for 150 kilometers before crossing into Bosnia. For much of that journey, it runs at the floor of a canyon that drops 1,300 meters from rim to river. The Tara Canyon is the deepest in Europe and the second deepest on the entire planet, exceeded only by the Grand Canyon of the American Southwest. The Tara has been declared officially the cleanest river in all of Europe. Its color is a precise blue-green, the result of glacial minerals filtered through limestone over geological time, a color that cameras approximate but cannot fully reproduce.
To stand above the canyon at first light, with limestone walls rising hundreds of meters on either side, and the river glowing softly far below, is to understand why the people here call it the Tear of Europe. The canyon stretches for 82 kilometers. Along its walls, caves open unexpectedly into darkness. Waterfalls emerge from fractures in the rock where no surface water should logically exist. Pine trees grow at angles that seem to refuse the instructions of gravity, their roots gripping bare limestone with a tenacity built over millions of slow years. Across the deepest section of the canyon stands the Đurđevića Tara Bridge, built in 1940, arching 172 meters above the river on 5 stone piers. At its completion, it was the tallest road bridge in Europe. When German forces advanced into Yugoslavia during the Second World War, a Montenegrin engineer named Lazar Jauković destroyed the bridge's central span himself to prevent the enemy crossing it. He understood precisely what he was destroying. After the war, he returned and helped rebuild what his own hand had brought down. The bridge stands today. The canyon is unchanged. The Tara runs as cold and clear as it did on the morning Jauković made his decision.
Of all the places in Montenegro that ask something of the visitor, none demands quite as much quiet attention as Biogradska Gora. Europe once covered itself in ancient forest. Then came agriculture, industry, centuries of expansion and conflict. The great trees fell. The primeval woodland retreated until almost nothing remained. 3 primary rainforests survive on the entire European continent today. One of them is here. Within Biogradska Gora National Park, 16 square kilometers of virgin forest stand precisely as they stood before any human being thought to record they were there. The trees exceed easy description. Beech trees 500 years old, firs reaching 60 meters into the canopy, maples and elms whose trunks are too wide for 3 people to encircle with their arms. In 1878, when the people of this region expelled the last Ottoman garrison from their valleys, they gave this forest to their king as a gift. He protected it at once. UNESCO formalized that protection in 1977. But the forest predates all of it. Walking beneath the canopy of Biogradska Gora produces a sensation that is difficult to name and easy to recognize. The light barely reaches the ground. The understory grows thick with ferns and mosses of extraordinary variety. The silence is of a particular quality, not the silence of emptiness, but the silence of density, of many living things conducting their business at scales just beyond the threshold of human perception. At the center of the park, Biogradsko Lake reflects the ancient trees in water so still it could be glass. Brown bears move through the deeper forest at first light. There are 150 bird species in the canopy, 3 species of trout in the streams, and 86 species of trees in a space smaller than many city parks. This is what Europe looked like before human ambition changed it, and this small, stubborn country kept one piece of it intact. In the south of Montenegro,
where the limestone mountains step back from the land and a broad valley opens between the country and Albania, lies the largest lake in the Balkans. Lake Shkodra covers around 475 square kilometers. The Montenegrin portion became a national park in 1983. The lake is shallow and exceptionally warm. Its combination of open water, dense reed beds, floating meadows of white water lily, and surrounding wetland creates one of the most significant bird habitats anywhere in Europe. More than 280 species of birds have been recorded on and around Shkodra Lake. That number represents more than half of every bird species known to exist across the entire European continent, compressed into a single lake and its surrounding shores. In autumn, when the great migrations begin and birds move south from breeding grounds across Eastern Europe and beyond, the sky above Shkodra Lake fills with life on a scale that makes the very concept of counting seem inadequate. The Dalmatian pelican nests here. It is among the largest flying birds on this planet, with a wingspan that may reach 3 full meters. Its global population stands at only a few thousand individuals. Shkodra Lake is one of its last dependable nesting places. In the mornings, small groups move low across the water's surface, their wing beats slow and measured, each stroke carrying them forward with an authority that 3 meters of wingspan permits. The lake supports 48 fish species, 18 of which exist nowhere else on Earth. Medieval monasteries rise from rocky outcrops in the middle of the water, reachable only by boat. Local fishermen have worked these waters since before any of the current monasteries were built, returning each morning with carp that has been eaten in this valley, cooked in more or less the same ways for longer than the surrounding nations have existed in their current forms. The wine produced along Shkodra's northern shore from a red grape called Vranak that has grown in this soil for centuries carries within it the warmth of Mediterranean sun. To sit beside the lake in the late afternoon, a glass of it in hand, and watch the pelicans make their final crossing before the light fails, is to participate briefly in something that has been repeating in this valley for a very long time.
High on the face of a white limestone cliff, 900 meters above the valley floor of central Montenegro, a monastery appears to grow from the living rock. Ostrog Monastery was built in 1667 by Saint Basil of Ostrog, a bishop and ascetic who chose this impossible cliff face not as a test of human engineering, but an act of absolute faith. The white painted church facades emerge from the grey cliff as though the mountain itself, in some ancient moment of generosity, simply opened and offered shelter to whoever might need it. The upper monastery sits within a natural cave. The cave is not decorated to resemble a holy place. It is the holy place. The relics of Saint Basil remain here. Orthodox Christians travel from Greece, Russia, Romania, from wherever their tradition reaches to make this pilgrimage. On the great feast days, the line of pilgrims descends the mountain road for several kilometers. Some walk the final approach barefoot. One notices at Ostrog something that speaks to Montenegro's broader character. The country holds within its borders an Orthodox Christian majority, a Muslim minority, a Catholic community, and the traces of many faiths that traveled these roads before the current inhabitants arrived. What is most notable is not the difference between these traditions, but the long practice of their coexistence. Ostrog draws pilgrims of every faith and none. The mountain holds them all. Montenegro is not a country that announces itself. It does not position. It does not advertise. It simply continues to be what it has always been. A small Balkan nation with a portion of the planet's remaining wildness packed carefully into its borders, watched over by people who have spent a very long time learning the art of holding on to what matters. The canyon of the Tara runs as deep as it ever has. The bears of Biogradska Gora move through a forest that was ancient long before any of the nations currently drawing lines on European maps existed. The pelicans of Skadar Lake return each year to nesting grounds their kind have used for longer than the town of Kotor has stood above its bay. The shepherd on the high Durmitor meadow does what his great-great-grandfather did on the same pasture, under the same peaks, in the same clear mountain air. In a world accelerating away from its own wild origins, there is something remarkable about a place that chose, deliberately and with legal commitment, to remain. Montenegro, 13,800 square kilometers. Every meter of it worth the journey.
If you like this video, click here or here for more videos like these.